Hey, my name's Joel and welcome back to the Traveler Toolkit. Today we're going to do something really fun, something we've never done before. But all summer we've been testing products, and one product has been coming up over and over and over again, and that is a camping light, just like these lights right in front of me. There are lots of these available on the market, and we've tested a ton of them this summer. I've chosen 4 that I think are good for comparison. So in this video, we're gonna test out all 4 of these, compare them to each other, see how they stack up, and see which one is the right buy for you. I have no affiliation with any of these companies, so I'm gonna give you my open and honest opinion after testing and using all 4 of these. So let's get right to it. All right, so allow me to introduce you to the players in this video. I don't know the model numbers on each and every one of these down to the dot, but I'm gonna put links in the description down below if you wanna check them out after watching the video. This first light is from Portability. This is a really interesting design here. It's a long, kind of a long skinny light with a little part on the top that unscrews with a little flashlight that's removable. We'll talk about that feature in a little bit, but this is the Portability camping light. Then we have a light from Boge RV that is like a military grade green here. You pull it up and you've got 3 different lights that come out from on top. We'll talk about all the features that it offers later in the video. Next to that, we have this light from Altask and Flextail. I believe Altask makes it. It's a collaboration with Flextail. Really cool design light on top right here. And we'll talk about the telescoping bottom that all of these have later. And then finally, our largest offering here is this light from Ogre. This also is more of a flower petal design. You see some patterns in some of these, 3 lights on the top and lots of different cool settings. All right, so let's talk criteria for our matchup. We're gonna be putting these head to head in 5 different categories. The first category is how does it do as a light? They have multifunctional lighting systems, different brightness levels, different light settings. We're gonna stack them all next to each other and see which one we like best. Then we'll talk about the stand that comes with each one of these lights. They're all meant to stand independently on their own on the ground, and that's an important part of their function. Third, we'll talk about their battery, the capacity of the battery, and also the function of the battery. Some of these can act as external charging devices for small things like phones, iPads, laptops, and so forth. And then number 4, we will talk about their telescoping feature. Each one has a telescoping rod that extends. Some are taller than others. We'll see how they stack up in that regard. And finally, we will talk about price. How do these stack up in terms of price, and how does that affect our decision or see how we like them in the end? So let's get going. First and foremost, testing them out as lights. So let's switch to the dark so we can check that out. All right, hopefully this isn't too creepy, but we're out here in the dark now. We're gonna test out all 4 of these lights. I'll show you the different light modes, and then we'll try to compare them and see which one seems to be the best light. We're not just looking for the brightest light, we're looking for the best light as far as function and the type of light that it throws out. So let's get going. All right, so you can't tell until I turn it on, so I'm gonna turn it on. This is the Ogre light here, and I don't believe I have the tripod all the way up, but it is pretty tall, and you can see this is, I believe, the brightest setting on like the white daylight setting. If you click the brightness button here, it will change the brightness, go down a little further. Now we're in SOS mode. That's just crazy, and this is the full brightness. So you can see just how far out you can actually see me here. I'm probably 7 to 8 feet away. You can still kind of see me around the light. It is a really big throw. It probably throws light into a 15 or 20 foot circle around it here. Throws a lot of light. If we hold the brightness button, I believe, no, not that. If we hold the power button, we're gonna switch here. There we go, to the orange light setting. I'm not sure what you would call that, but more of a warm light. And again, you've got 3 different levels. That's low, flashing, high, medium, low, flashing. So again, similar brightness levels, just more of an ambient light. And if you brought this thing down a little bit, this is as high as it goes. If you brought this thing down, it's a very pleasant light. And again, we can take these and we can throw them in all directions here. I don't want to do that on the camera, but you can kind of see, if you throw them back here, you can see me quite a far length away. And then of course, if you were to flip them up, similar idea. This is just blinding me completely right now. Let's get it above my eyes, but it's hard to see on the camera. That would be really hard in an outdoor environment. Yeah, the uplights aren't really a seller because you need to be able to see what's going on. So this is the downlight setting, probably the most useful. Now, one thing I will show you real quick is what the top light looks like. I'll get up closer to the camera. This is the flashlight. And it's really not bad. It throws out a very small beam, but if you needed some really directional light, this would do it. Some more focused light than just having light thrown everywhere. This would help. So again, this is the Ogre light. Now let's check out the other ones. And oh yeah, don't forget, if you're new to the channel, be sure you subscribe. The Traveler Toolkit is free to subscribe to, and we do great videos like this about camping, RVing, and the outdoors every single week. All right, and this is our smallest light. This is the Altask Flex Tail light, and I've got the tripod base set up here. I'm gonna flip this light to a down light, bring it all the way out, and set it out in a similar spot that we just had the Ogre light. And you can kind of see, it's hard to see me above it because it's down so low. This thing is so small. You really just see my feet back here. It doesn't throw light very far. Now, if I were to throw it out to the side, you'd be able to see me out here, you know? And I think this is low. Let me check the button here. I'll hit it. So we got low, yeah, medium, and high. So, okay, that's a lot better. It's now throwing out light, you know, probably 10, 12 feet. And the real reason it's not going out as far, it seems really bright, is because it's low to the ground, and that's on purpose. So it's always kind of below, you can kind of see, hey there, it's below my waist. I'm 6 foot tall, it's below my waist. This is never going to be in my eyes. And I believe if I hold this, let's cycle through here and get, this is the daylight setting, the white light. Yeah, double tap, and we're gonna get the orange light. So this is the warm light. So again, high here, medium, or low, medium, high. That's a really nice light. I could see if you had a couple of these around the campsite, I like the idea that this would kind of create little areas of light, that it's not like in your face, it's helping you walk and helping you see. You're not gonna lose your night vision. Again, on high, it's throwing light probably, maybe 10 feet maximum, so not nearly as big as the Ogre, but it's a lot more controlled. And of course, you can task light this out to the side, on either direction, go all the way around. So it is useful if you needed to task it out. I don't want to kind of point it right at the camera, but it's a smaller light bulb or area of light, but throwing light in a decent area here. And of course, we can test out the flashlight function without trying too hard, because all we do is pull it in like this, and we've got it right here. And I've got to say, for a flashlight, it throws out some good light. Not very focused. You'll see that, not very focused light, but it is throwing a broad beam. And if you were walking down a trail, that would be really useful. That's hard to see on camera, but a really broad beam of a flashlight. So again, this is the Altask Flex Tail light. All right, and now I have the Bose RV. Let's set this out here, and I have the top light on right now. Let's go ahead and switch that to the, what I'll call the pedal lights, the pedestal lights, and pull the boom all the way out, or the telescoping rod all the way out. Point them down. And again, these are the ones that wanted to wilt. It does, because it has 3 lights, it does throw out a nice beam all the way around. You can see much bigger than the Altask Flex Tail, not quite as big as the Ogre. But these, again, you know, if you're repositioning, see how these lights just want to wilt? That's a problem for me if you want them out flat like this, but every time you reposition it, they fall, you lose a little bit of your circle there. So that's a little tough. You can see it does throw out some decent light, and you can direct it in all different manners. This is probably the highlight of this light's abilities, is you can kind of direct the light in whatever direction you want. You've got 3 of these. It also has different, let me see if I can actually see it on top. Yes, different brightness levels. I think this is brightness here, yeah. So there is the brightest. We were on the lowest. Wow. Super bright here. Look how bright we're talking. Yeah, I'm getting like, I would say 15, maybe at 20, maybe not quite 20 feet radius when they're down, but this is a really bright light. I mean, compared to the Ogre, or to the Altask Flextail, but even the big Ogre lights, these are really large. These are a really large throw. So that's high, medium, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. And then we have the switch button here. It's gonna switch us to, this is our orangish light. So again, low, medium, high. And really they all have this same feature. It's all really nice and really appropriate. This is good. And of course you could put it down like we had the Altask, you know, keep it down low, really keep it out of your eyes. I think the function of this light is really good. The biggest problem I see with this light is these wilting arms on top. I don't know if you can see these, but every time you move it, they just go down a little bit more and you lose a little bit more of your light. So that's probably the weak point of this light, and the base, we talked about that. But as far as the light is concerned, it's a good light, maybe one of the brighter, more powerful lights that we have. And now let's check it out as a flashlight. This is kind of a spooky angle here, but it's more focused than I believe the Altask light was. Trying to even give you a glimpse of it. See how small that is? Doesn't go very far. There's not much to see here. Again, flashlight is not the strength of this light, nor really any of them, but there's what it looks like as a flashlight. It's bright enough, but you know, just not the optimal way to use it. All right, and now let's try our last light, the Tavol CC1. This is the one that has the least amount of, I would say, variability. You can do the least with this light. It is a great flashlight in ergonomics, but there's not much you can do because there's no shade over this light. You see how it just kind of throws it everywhere? It's going to be in your eyes. This is medium, this is high. It throws light everywhere. I mean, see how it's just so bright? But my problem is it's extremely like direct. It's in your face. You can't get away from it no matter where you're at. The light is kind of in your face. The others, you can direct it down. I mean, for me, this has to get last as a lantern because there's no shade on it. You know, I just want a little bit of shade from it. It's too much. We talked about this. I love this little remote. I can turn the light down, I can turn it off, I can turn it on, but this is really cool. This is unique, but it's just a lot of light in your face at all times. So I'm just not sure what to do with that other than say, it's too much. It's too much for me. And I'd say in the lighting category, as far as a lantern goes, this is my least favorite, even though it has a nice stand and a remote and all of these things. Now, if we disconnect it here, now we're in flashlight mode, and you'll see it's probably the most capable flashlight. Look how direct that beam is. Look how much we're able to do with it. And it's more appropriate for a flashlight. We're not gonna get a lot of light, you know, way far out there. That's kind of what I was hoping for, but you know, it probably is the most functional flashlight and it makes most sense. But when you throw it into the lantern mode, gosh, it's so much, it's just about ready to knock you out at all times. So here we are on low, a little bit more to handle. So I would say this is probably gonna get my vote for last place in the lighting category. If I had to give it to one light, I'd say the Ogre is probably the best light that we have as far as just lights go, because it is the brightest, tallest, and most versatile. Probably the best camping light in my mind is the Altask Flextail, because for camping, that's the kind of light I want. The Ogre, you could use camping, but it seems like that'd be really handy on a work site more than a campsite. So just depends what you're looking for, but I think the Ogre is probably the best overall and most functional light. All right, now let's talk about the tripod base on each one of these lights. So for these three lights, the Tavol, the Bose RV, and the Altask Flextail, they have a tripod base built in. For this one specifically, you hit a button on the bottom, and this has got to be my favorite action of all three, and you'll see why. But this is very neat and tidy. Not a very large base on the Altask, but this button and the spring inside has a nice retracting leg system that just kind of pops out. It's really satisfying to do that over and over. It seems big enough for this light. So even though it's not the widest base, it does seem big enough, and it does seem stable for this light. I'm gonna go over here to the Tavol next, because it's got a similar action, but you have to actually push this in. So it's not spring loaded, it doesn't pop out. All you do is push here on the bottom, and this handle will move down all in one motion. And it's got a really wide base. You'll see compared to the Altask, it's huge. Big, wide base, so very stable. These are thinner, flimsier legs than the Altask. These are extremely rigid and stiff, but both are a really good action and a really good design, I think. So really wide base here, really strong base here. The third base is the Bose RV, and this is maybe the flimsiest. It's got, check these out, these little tiny legs that pull out here. And to me, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just kind of funny, because this is a really hardy, well-built light, and then you go to pull these legs out, and there are these flimsy little, almost looks like the Mars rover when the legs come out, and they just flop out like this. And these are the legs, and you can kind of see how fragile they are. They don't seem to be unstable. They sit there just fine, but they're just a little flimsy for what I thought they would be. They do have this really cool reflective material on it. So in order to put them away, all you do is just literally slide them in. And then for the final light, the Ogre, it's the only one that doesn't have a tripod base built into the light. So that's a plus or a minus depending on how you're going to use it. Instead, it comes with this massive tripod system and extension arm. So huge compared to everything else. And the light itself, it's probably twice as big as this, but all you do is screw this bolt here into the receiver. And this is a really sturdy base, but it is huge. Then when you're done, similar system, you're pushing here on the bottom, and these legs, they don't pop out, which I wish they did. They snap together, but when you push this, it just releases the legs. It's a little clunky, I'll admit. There we go. And opens up like that. Now, even though these are really big, these legs are a little flimsy, if you ask me. But look how wide that base is. Look at it compared to the others. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, to me, this is almost in a different category, where these are almost just, like throw in your backpack portable. This is not. So obviously, I'm going to recommend the Ogre for something like, a setup where you don't move very often. But you can see 4 very different telescoping bases, varying levels of width. I would say, if we're naming favorites here, I think this is my favorite system, because it matches the light itself better. It's very sturdy. It goes in and out really quick. It's got a nice quick action to it. And I just like that. I think second place probably goes to the Tavol. And then these two are tied for last, no matter what you're doing. So I'm going to give this round to the Flextail Altask as far as tripod base goes. All right, right, let's start our conversation about battery with the Tavol CC1 because it is the smallest battery on the table, and that's because this is just a stand. There's nothing else in here. All the battery is right here in this handle, this grip of the flashlight itself, 3,000 milliamp hours. Now they say that will last 20 hours on low and 4 hours on high, so not bad for something this small, but you can see here it does charge via USB-C. This is not an output, only an input, so you can only charge this. For obvious reasons, you couldn't charge other devices off of this. So a pretty small battery to start. And then surprisingly, the second smallest battery, although more than 3 times the capacity of the Tavol, is the Augury light at 10,000 milliamp hours. It's kind of surprising because compared to the others, this is the bulkiest light we have, but only 10,000 milliamp hours on this. It is chargeable via USB-C, but also is a charging bank via USB-A. The A is an output, C is an input. So you can charge an iPhone or something small with this if you have extra life on that battery. But 10,000 milliamp hours should get you quite a lot of use out of a light with this low of an output because of the LED lights. Third on the list is the Altask FlexTail collaboration here. It's got a 12,000 milliamp battery, so a little bit bigger than the Augury, and that's because everything from here down is just a stand. This is the battery portion right up here, so a decent battery for this small area. And for what it packs out, because this is a lower output light, that battery does last a lot longer. And of course, you have a USB-C charging port here on the back if I could ever get it open. USB-C and USB-A output. Again, I wouldn't charge a whole lot with this, maybe just a phone. And finally, our largest battery, the Boge RV Lite. It's got 15,600 milliamp hours. It also has the largest output, so take that into consideration. These have larger outputs, need larger batteries, but that's because this whole section in the middle here can be a battery. All of this is kind of woven into that. I'd say the battery is mainly on the bottom, but like the others, we do have USB-C down here on the bottom and no other ports. This is only an input, so you cannot charge other things through this light. It is only a light itself, and the battery is just for that. So now that we've checked out the light, we've talked about the battery, and we've talked about the tripod base, we need to talk about the telescoping arms. Because really, the idea behind these lights is that you would set them on the ground at a campsite, and they would throw some ambient light kind of everywhere. There are other uses for them, but this is the main use. That's why they have tripod bases. So let's talk about height and orientation, how that all affects the overall usefulness of the light. So let's start down here with our largest, the Augury. This has got kind of a clip system. This is more like a tripod leg. You unclip these and then you can pull, so it's telescoping in that way. So fully extended here. Let's go all the way up, click out, all the way up, click out, all the way up, click out. I believe this is our tallest telescoping arm. And you see, we're on kind of a little hill right here. It's not the steadiest because these legs do have some give to them. So fully extended, it does have a little bit of wobble to it, but you can see it's because it's over 6 feet high. I'm 6 foot tall, so it's over 6 feet high. And the idea is you would take these lights out and you would face them either up or down. You could do one of these and throw light on the ground. Now, personally, I don't want this light above my eye level because then it's getting into your eyes. So I would probably rather have the light down here. It'd be more useful around the campsite. But if you were going up with the light, having it this high would probably be helpful. If you were shooting it onto something, it would affect that as well. So here we go. This is the Augury telescoping arm. This is the FlexTail Altask, and it just pulls out from the middle. You can kind of see we've got a telescoping arm like that, and this might be our shortest. It simply sets like this. Now, the way that this is meant to work is that this light in the top, you simply face it down to the bottom. So you've got this rotation ability here. Face it toward the bottom, and it throws it on the ground I find that a little more useful because it's below my eye level versus this. It's not going to ruin my night vision. So I don't necessarily mind it, but as far as telescoping arms go, this is the simplest and it is also the shortest. We're not giving higher marks for height, but look at how easy this is to put away. I mean, that to me is a really easy action. This is not going to be that easy to put away. So there's the Altask Flex Tail. Here's the Bose RV. This is also pretty simple, very similar to the Altask. It's a little bit thicker here. You can kind of see it next to that. A little bit thicker, but the same idea. It's a sleeve that you pull out. And even still, it's going to be about double, well, not quite double the height. This is about 2/3 the height. So I'm going to call this 5 foot tall. And again, these lights on the top, they rotate. You can face them straight up, off to the side, or down. The one thing that really annoys me about this light is that this is a kind of a cool design, but these want to wilt a little bit. They're just, I mean, they're lightweight. They don't hold in there perfectly. There are times when they just kind of wilt, and I wonder how that'll work over time. Are they going to fall down and, you know, be a little bit more wilty? But yeah, you can go in whatever orientation you want, but this is the height of the base right here. It's about chest level on me. And then finally we have the Tivol. Pretty simple, the same exact, you'll see this is, we got 3 with the same design, 1 with a different design. It just telescopes out. This might be the best quality telescoping arm, and it's also the tallest telescoping arm. And it might just be taller than the Augury. I mean, look at that. We'll stick it next to the Augury so you can see. Yeah, it is taller. So there you go. And the difference between this light and all the others is that this light doesn't have a directional component to it. These you can face down, face up, face to the side, orient your 3 different lights. This one is just a halo of light here that you can adjust. So you can't do anything about where it's pointing. It's just throwing ambient light everywhere. So taller is going to be a help in that scenario. So there you have it. Those are the telescoping arms on these lights, and it's hard to really say which one I think is the best. Obviously, for sturdiness, this is built in a much different way, almost like a work light, but it does seem to have a little more wobble because of the base and the height, whereas this is shorter, but it's extremely stable. This is also a little wobblier just because of the construction. You know, there's not as strong of a sleeve in there and those legs. And then obviously this is probably the strongest one. So if we were giving somebody measures for the telescoping arm, I would say the Tivol probably wins that because it's easy to get out, it's a strong and it's a tall base, but I don't know that the light on top is as impressive as the others. All right, so the question you all want to know, how much do these things cost? Well, the answer is that can vary, and you know that from a lot of my other videos. It's hard to talk about price because it changes a lot, but I will say that these 3 lights are very similar prices. The Augury, the Bose RV, and the Tivol, they're all under $100, somewhere between like $90 and $70 most of the time, whereas this light is much more expensive, like $130 to $150 most of the time. So not quite double the price, but significantly more. So if price is that important to you, these are going to be the more affordable options. But then the question is, how does that weigh into which light I like the most? Let's talk about the intangibles, the things that make these lights great on their own as individual lights. I'm going to start with the Tivol for the intangibles because it has something that none of the other lights do. It has a removable remote. It is a little tiny remote button that controls this light from a distance. Now, the question is, how useful is that? Because it is cool, but I'm not sure how useful it is. Turn it on, change the brightness of the light. You can go away from it and still control it. So I guess this would be useful if you were at camp and somebody was coming up and you wanted to, you know, turn the light on brighter if it was far away from you. But you know, I really don't find it that inconvenient to hit the button on the light, but I will say it's pretty cool the way that this just can be taken off the light itself and then clipped back in via this magnet. Sticks right in there. It's handy. and that's an intangible that none of the other lights have. Now, when it comes to intangibles or surprises, I don't have a lot to say for the Bose RV. It really is just a light that does what it says it does, and it does it pretty well, but it doesn't have any extra features. Of course, you could use this bottom light as a flashlight, but who's gonna carry this around for this tiny little light? This light is not very bright, so there's not a lot of intangibility to speak about with this particular light. But when we come over here to the Altask, something that seemingly is similar in design, I believe it's got a lot of intangibles that the other lights don't have. For one, I feel like its flashlight function is a lot more practical and better. I love the simplicity of this one little light bar. So though it may have less output than the others, it's smaller in hand, so it makes it a lot more practical to use it for other things like a flashlight. And when it comes to the Ogre, the one thing I think it does better than all the other lights is its versatility. So it does have a much larger base. It's probably not as useful for a packable situation that you need to really save space on, but it's got a great setup for hanging in a tent with a hook. Now, these all have other ways to do that. The Tivol doesn't have any way to do that. The Altask has a little tiny loop in it, and the Bose RV has a little clip in it, but you would need another clip. This is the only one with an actual hook built into the bottom of the light, so it's just down there. You pull it out, it has a hook. Of course, it has magnets as well, no magnets in tents, but you can hang this in a tent and take your lights, pull them all out, and you have an instant downlight in a tent, in an RV. If you wanted to put this, you know, on an awning over an RV as kind of just an outdoor light, this is really handy, and this is not something that any of the other lights have. You could maybe rig them up, but it's just not as kind of on the nose and useful as the Ogre light. So I think this is what it offers that no other light offers on this lineup. Well, I have to say, when all things are considered, this is the light that I have used more than any other light in this lineup. I like the finish of it. I think it's a lot more of a quality build. I like the mechanisms on it. I just like the simplicity of this one simple light up top. And even though it's not the brightest output, I have found that brightness at the campsite can sometimes be the enemy. We're not doing work lights or task lights. Sometimes you just want a light that is just right, and that's what I would call this little tiny light right here on top. I know these are very popular for good reason, and I think the versatility and multifunctionality of the Flexdale Altask lantern really does set it apart from the others. So more expensive, but honestly, this one's my pick. So now that you know which light I pick, I want to know which light you would pick. Let me know in the comments down below which light is your favorite, because they all have different merits and uses that I think make them really cool. I'm going to leave links to all of these lights in the description down below. You can check them out for yourself. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video, you might as well subscribe, because we're doing really great videos about camping, outdooring, RVing products just like this every single week. As always, my name is Joel. This is the Traveler Toolkit, and I'll see you in the next video.